Welcome to the show, Tami Beach from HP. So this is next week's Life podcast. I'm the host. They let me be the host occasionally. So we're excited to have you. It's been weeks months actually, since I've seen you at ECS. So we're honored to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here, and I've watched some of your other podcasts, and you are a great host. So I'm looking forward to this.
Well, we're going to have a little bit of fun. Hopefully, we can uncover the true Tami Beach. And you were a lot of fun and informative when you were speaking at ECS a long time ago now, January. Seems like forever. And one of the things that I want to learn a little bit more about you. I think the audience is curious about your background. You kind of touched on it a little bit, a few surprises, like Taylor Swift.
Right, one of my favorites, yes, since she was a little girl.
So I'm kind of curious. You indicated previously that you've got a pretty good menu of artists that you like to listen to and enjoy. So is she top of the list?
She for sure is now. I mean, she's just such a phenomenal entertainer. And since I am fresh off of the concert that I saw last Friday, her opening night, it's hard not to have her at the top of the list for sure. And I've got 3 daughters, and they're all 5 years apart, and so they, from my oldest to my youngest, have all loved Taylor Swift. So it's been something that we've also shared as a family. But there are many others on my list. I've got Journey and Toto coming up. They're making a trip to Boise. And certainly any country band is one of my favorites too. But I born in the 70s, kind of grew up in the 80s, so you can imagine the kind of music that formed me, and a large variety of things I like to listen to.
Do you sing?
Well, I think I do. I love a good karaoke night for sure. I think I pull it off pretty well, but I think others would maybe argue with that.
The others might be a little more critical.
Yeah, exactly. I'm more scream sing, so but it's fun.
So country, you like country, and who hits the top of the chart for you there?
Old Dominion was just in Boise, so went to that with my kids. That's of course Blake Shelton, Tim McGraw, Taylor Swift when she did country, of course. That's what first made us fall in love with her. Oh gosh.
What about Chris Stapleton?
Oh, Chris Stapleton, yes, love him. Missed him when he was here in Boise. I can't remember where I was, but actually, the great part about the growth in Boise is that we do bring all kinds of entertainers in now, and we do have an opportunity to see them here and not have to travel. But I did miss Chris Stapleton when he was here. I'm going to have to catch him next time. I love him. Yeah.
Well, he crushed the national anthem, didn't he?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
All right. So I have to ask, it's sort of mandatory for this Italian boy. We're going to talk about a little bit Sinatra and Tony Bennet. Okay. You have a preference?
It's hard. I think there's probably more Frank Sinatra songs that I'm familiar with. This was something that my grandmother and grandfather, I remember them listening to it, blasting throughout their house. And so I think I'm more familiar with him, but I did get to go to a Tony Bennet concert here in Boise. Gosh, it was 2016. So I never got to see Frank Sinatra, but remember his music quite well. And just love, what is it? It's Life? That's Life.
That's Life. We named the show after that.
Okay. Well, there you go.
That
makes sense. Yeah, I love that song. And Tony Bennet, I remember also my grandfather singing She Wore Blue Velvet, my grandmother. God, yeah. So it goes back, to those days when I was really, really young, and that formed my preference there. But I love, and Michael Bublé, who has kind of the same sound, to listen to that too.
So what about Tony Bennet does duets with Lady Gaga? Where's she in your repertoire?
Who doesn't love Lady Gaga? And I particularly loved her performance on the Oscars. Did you see her on the Oscars recently? And
Yes, it was
I
awesome.
almost didn't think it was her because you see her on the red carpet and she's all glammed up and she gets on stage and she's completely just like completely barefaced and just very raw and very, not what you would maybe expect this big flashy performance at the Oscars, but it was perfect. I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I got a lot of people sending me the links too, so I get to keep it and watch it over. I think she's phenomenal. She's absolutely
She's
phenomenal.
fantastic.
So let's talk a little bit about Tammy. Where'd you come from? Well, first of all, how long have you been with HP?
Well, I just passed 25 years last December. So I'm going
Wow.
into my 26th year. And I've been so lucky. I am just a little bit of my background. I'm native Idahoan, sixth generation Idahoan, to be exact. So there aren't
Wow.
very many natives here, let alone from that far back. And what's so great about working for HP is that I've been able to stay my entire career in Boise, Idaho. And maybe early in my career, I maybe would have wanted a little bit, shake that up a little bit. But because of travel and the different kinds of work opportunities that I got, it never bothered me to stay in Boise. And now I'm just so thrilled to have been able to build a life here and stay here. It's been great.
Well, you are fortunate. It's one of the greatest states in the country and certainly one of the most beautiful. So good for you. 26 years. That's
Yeah,
phenomenal.
yeah. I actually didn't expect to be at HP. I was just finishing my master's degree, and it was spring break right before I was getting ready to finish, and applied for a job at Boise State and in their foundation doing fundraising. And I remember going in, and the guy telling me that hired me offered me the job, and he said, I'm going to pay you $29.9 and I'm going to take a pound of skin off you for it. and and I was like, great, sign me up. I was super excited about getting the opportunity and getting actually a job before I was graduating. So
Wow.
I accepted the job. I went to a dinner party not that long afterward, and this is kind of, I mean, the power of networking is phenomenal. And so I go to this dinner party and I meet this woman there, and we chat. I don't even really remember what we talked about, but she calls me the next day. She's from HP. She wants me to come in and interview for a job. So I do, and she hires me on the spot. So I had to, and it was a much better offer, and I got to keep my skin. So I had to call up the guy at VSU and say, "Sorry, I'm not going to be able to work with you." And so that started my career at HP. But also, as you know, as I mentioned when I was speaking, I've gone back to BSU in an adjunct professor role. So I get to spend a little bit of
Mm.
my time doing both now.
Yeah, I noticed, well, you said it when you were here speaking, and then I noticed on your LinkedIn profile, you're very proud of your educator
Yeah.
role, and you continue to do that, I assume.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, it
Yeah.
really was kind of a savior during COVID when we weren't traveling and I wasn't really even leaving the house much. And so, and while we were kind of back and forth in class, out of class, masks, no masks, it really gave me another outlet and use of my time that would normally be spent on airplanes. And I just love it.
Well, from the stage, your educator role was pretty obvious, and especially when you're dealing with people like me who are pretty much junior high school people and still worried about detention. But you did a fabulous job. ECS, I thought, showcased you, your skills, certainly HP. We would have liked to have you a little longer than you
Yeah.
had, but it worked out great. So thank you for doing that at ECS. So talking about HP, it's been and you brought up COVID, and I try to avoid that usually at this point, but it is it's part of our DNA at this point too. So we've had a hell of a few years. In fact, I was talking with somebody today, and an executive in the industry, mentioned something, and I said, that was 5, 6 years ago now. It's almost like the pandemic years
Yeah.
we ignored somehow.
Blacked out.
So, Tammy, and again, I thank you for HP's support of ECS 23. I'd like to hear a little bit more about your thoughts about that. But when you hit the stage, just to remind everybody, we had 300 people in the room, and a good 130 of them were dealers of all sizes, some mega dealers to smaller dealers. And the two things that I hear from the dealers that were there, as well as others, about HP, the questions revolve around two very important topics. One is this whole data situation, data issue. If I were going to sum it up, I would say a lot of the dealers and maybe even some legal people think it's just unbelievable that you would be holding that kind of data and using it to some degree. So we'd like you to clarify that. And the second question really is the difficulty, quote unquote, that dealers have in working with HP compared to a typical Japanese OEM inspired dealer. So those are the two primary questions, and I'll let you pick up which one you want to go first.
All right, I'll start with the last first, about the difficulty working with HP. So HP is a big company, and we have multiple different types of channels, from retail to commercial, 2 tiers, distribution, second tier. We've got IT focused, we've got SI focused, we've got copier focused, and they're global, right? And there is also no global channel really, but in a company like HP, what you try and do is you try to maintain some level of consistency around the globe and with all of your channel partners. And that's, because from efficiencies, from an internal perspective, that makes sense. There are some legal reasons that we have to treat all partners the same. And so when you do that, you create experiences that are good for most, but not all, right? And it's not one size fits all. And so Amplify especially is about 2 years old now. We are getting to a point where we had to put this consistent global program out there. And now we're at a point where it's been launched, all of our partners are engaged, and now we get to drive some uniqueness based on market and based on channel type. And so hopefully the working with HP part will get easier, but it's always going to be different because we are a different company than our Japanese competitors in this space. I mean, we do PCs and we do 3D and we do a lot of transactional print and we do supplies and we do services and we do software. We do consumer and commercial and public sector. So all of those things combined are maybe in some ways different than our competitors, and so there's always going to be that. I think from a data so a couple of things on data. First, it is 100% not to be used for anything but 3 things. One is compensation for our partners. We don't always get clear signals back from distribution, who's buying what, where, and so in terms of our compensation to partners, we want to make sure we're paying them what they have earned from us. And so that's one big thing. The second big thing is compliance. And, if you think about HP's installed base, our A4 installed base primarily, and it's the largest on the planet, it also has the most risk from a remand perspective. And printers, whether they're sold transactionally or they're sold on a managed print contract, the profitability is in the supplies for HP and for our partners. When we have partners getting deep discounts on toner into that large installed base, and that toner goes sideways and gets sold by somebody that's not authorized to sell it, that does damage to all of us. And so it's super important that we keep a healthy channel ecosystem, and compliance is one of those things that we have to continue to monitor. That is kind of unique to HP because of the size of that installed base and the remands that are out there versus some of our competitors. The third big thing around data is the data insights. And this is what I talked about a lot at ECS was Data is the lifeblood of an organization. I believe that. I teach that. Every topic that we go through in my marketing class, we talk about how data is used to drive that activity. I do think that we underestimate the power of the data and how powerful it can be in our decision making. And what we want to do is we do want to take that, we want to blend that data with other sources and use that to create valuable insights for our channel partners to make business decisions. The last point that I'll make on the data is that we have been doing this for years with our IT VARs, with our distribution partners, with our big retail partners. Data collection is not new for HP. It's new for HP to ask this channel to do it. And that has been a lot of change management to get them to understand our end user sales reps are not using it. We are not using it to take over your customers. We are not using it to displace you in any way. We are not giving it to any of your competitors. We are using it for those three reasons that I described. And hopefully, you will find value in the data insights and that the other reasons are understandable too. But we're not trying to do anything nefarious with it.
So do you think this program applied, right? Do you think that, I'm sorry, amplified,
That's
forgive me. Do you think that it has slowed down your revenue growth or your penetration capability into the dealer community? Has it had a negative impact?
I will say that, what keeps me up at night is lack of visibility to the demand signal right now. We had COVID, we launched Amplify, we had supply chain issues. We were able to maintain all of our partners in the program, even with Amplify, and we were able to maintain a pretty solid run rate of our A3 and A4 businesses, even through the supply chain crisis. We had some dips, but we recovered pretty quickly. But we still had so much backlog that it was hard to tell. And so the good news is that a lot more partners are asking questions. A lot more dealers are asking questions and engaging, and we're being invited to be included and to be at the table. And I've been on a number of panels and I've been in a number of podcasts. And so I think there's interest. What's going on there with UHP? And I think that our strength in the industry, our market share, our portfolio is the strongest it's ever been. Our financial performance is a huge strength versus others in the industry. You can't deny that. And so I do think that there is interest in partnering with HP. And while, yes, Amplify has created just kind of one other thing that HP is so hard to do business with, right? I do think that we've settled that a little bit, and I do look forward to some improvements in 2024 that are going to make this easier for partners. And so we're working on that right now, and hope to be able to roll out some new ideas, whether that's through automating the data that we're collecting, minimizing the amount of data that we're collecting, those kinds of things that I think that dealers will be happy with.
So a couple of follow-up thoughts and questions just while you're speaking. I was thinking about it. The BTA, you have various groups, with the BTA group obviously being the umbrella group, I guess.
Yep.
And then you have CDA and BPCA and all the various groups. Does HP take a pretty predominant role or attempt to get involved with any of those groups routinely?
So I would say I got a little bit of budget for these things last year. I got more budget this year. So we are sponsoring a number of the CDA events, BTA events. We participated in yours and provided some sponsorship funding for that. Work with the Kanadas, work with Andy. So yes, there are definitely some dollars that have been made available to me to drive some unique engagements with this channel, because we do have our broader HP channel engine that puts our events together and our messaging together for the broader channel. But again, it may not be getting down to the level that this channel needs to see or hear. And there are so many unique industry events that this channel has that we are now, yes, investing in those things.
Well, that's good news, because it seems to me that a lot of the things that you were just referencing particularly with data. It's almost shocking to me that in 2023, people are resistant to data collection or usage or analytics or any version of that.
Yeah.
Because it's happening every day in our lives. I don't care if it's Amazon
Right.
or. So where is the flaw then? Why where was the big resistance?
Well, I think at first it was trust and, what is HP going to do with it? And it took us probably the better part of the first year to get over that trust issue. And HP has been in and out of this channel before. I will point out that this is the first time that we've made it to our second generation A3 product, and a fully filled out managed portfolio for A4. And so we are in this, and this channel is incredibly important to us. So we did have to do some work to regain some trust. And whenever you're dealing with customer names and details, anybody's going to feel nervous about that. So that was the first thing. I think the second thing became operational, a little bit on our side. Because of the amount of data that we expected to be collected, also because we expected that, all partners were created equal in terms of their ERP systems and their digitization of the data. That's not the case. And so we went out and said, hey, it's super easy, just, upload it to here or do an EDI feed to there, and many partners have not gone through their own digital transformation, as I'm sure you know, and they don't have sophisticated enough systems to automate the process. So then it just became they're spending hours upon hours collecting the data, putting it in a spreadsheet and sending it off, or having to shut down their systems to pull the data and no other work can get done. That's completely unreasonable. We do not want to have that kind of experience. So those are the kinds of things that we're working on fixing for 2024.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the rest of this year in 24. It seems like the beginning of this year, Chat GPT just exploded.
Right. Yeah.
Like in 30 days, it had more adoption than anything in the world, in the history of the world.
Yes.
So what is HP thinking, and what kind of strategy can you share with us, if any?
I think that HP is probably, there are parts of HP that probably have been working on and saw this coming from way back. I'm not, in HP labs, I'm sure that they have been working on these ideas and working with this type of technology for a long time. I don't have visibility to that, or I don't work in that day to day, so I can't really share what the go forward strategy might be. I would say that for me personally, I was first exposed to it as part of teaching, and noticed it launched. The beta version for the public launched in November. By December, the papers that I was getting for my students were pretty different. And so I didn't realize it at the time that that's what had happened, but I gave some really, really high grades. And then after, as I kind of we settled into Christmas break and I was doing some reading and catching up on some things, and I started reading about this. There was also a tool that came out shortly after that you could analyze content, and it would tell you what was human generated versus what was AI generated. And let me tell you, I don't think they're that accurate. But at that time when I did it, it did show that most of the papers I had some AI generated content in it. And I was secretly kind of cheering the students on. Like, as an educator, I felt, God, is it cheating or not? I hadn't really processed that part of it as a technology buff and in the world and my career in technology. I was like, this is amazing. This is going to change the way we do work. I don't think it's going to replace, I think it will replace some jobs. I think that if we don't learn how to use it, we will be replaced by people who do learn how to use it. And so I immediately started working on, what's going to be my policy for the new semester? How am I going to change the way I teach and what I teach and the assignments that I give? And so I started working on that over Christmas break and was kind of ready for that. And in class. From a work perspective, I shared with a lot of my colleagues, those that run our support organization, those that run our future product marketing team. I was putting it out there to kind of say, are you guys talking about this and thinking about this? And they were learning about it at the same time. And so a lot of people, even now, that aren't as immersed in it because they don't have kids or they're not in education, there are still some people out there that haven't heard about it. In fact, I'm on a board for an online technical school, and I'm giving a presentation tomorrow night at the board meeting about it because the board didn't know anything about it. So I think that it's just moving so fast, but it is game changing. I have put in some, I've asked it, for use cases, if you were to incorporate this on a printer, what kind of use cases would somebody expect to experience? And it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool to think about, how this gets applied on devices, how it gets applied in software, how it gets applied in our marketing and sales. I've encouraged my own sellers, my own sales team to, use it for better content marketing, for writing social media, helping them write social media posts and more compelling titles and things like that. So I think there's all kinds of uses for it.
Well, the fact that you're an educator and an executive in the print copier world, in the community that you serve, that's a really interesting series of perspectives. I mean, you're looking at it basically for children and adults, that are being educated, and the impact on our business, which, frankly, if you looked at LinkedIn anytime on any day, it's all over the board, right?
Yes.
It's all over the board.
Exactly. And small businesses, I was talking to the dean of our college, and because the first place I went was to him to say, what's the university policy? And this was back in December, and they were like, what's happening? And and so when I described it and I showed him some examples, and he was floored, and he said, how would I use this? The exercise that I do in my class is that I have students work with local businesses. And I said, whether it's customer support, whether it's marketing, whether it's sales, whether it's operations, there are useful AI tools out there. And I can't think of anything as a small business owner that I would rather have than insights into the tools that are available to me to make my small business run better. I don't have a big marketing budget. I don't have a department that can go work on, marketing content, or an agency. I don't have the budget to hire an agency. So I think that it can be super impactful to a small business.
Well, it's coming. The train has already left the station, and I think ultimately it's going to be better for everybody. Yeah. There, like you said, there'll be other tools that we can assess, differently. Maybe a software package that says this is a bot. I don't know, but clearly it's a game changer. Yeah. I mean, it literally is a game changer. So a little bit as we close really here and talking about HP, CDA is having a meeting this week. I'm not sure I know where it is, but CDA.
I'll be there.
Are you going to be there? Where is it?
It's in Fort Lauderdale, of all places, during spring break.
Oh, perfect.
Right, exactly.
Perfect.
Just where a bunch of old people want to show up, right?
Yeah.
Sorry. I mean, no, the CDA is not a bunch of old people. And I'm including myself in that.
No, it's good. Anybody that likes the music you like is all good. Okay. But be careful, spring break is spring break. But, I look at the groups, and CDA, they generate, I'm guessing, maybe $2-3 billion worth of annual return. These are some of the most successful, independent dealers in the country, really. And frankly, probably in the world. And then you look at some of the other groups, and then you look at BTA. So HP, you're going to be there. You answered the first question. That's fantastic. So now you can talk to these people about anything from, data to whatever. But the thought I had too, when you look at your risk mitigation, or education, I should say, it's not even risk mitigation, but it seems to me one of the things you really have to do is continue to educate the dealers on what it is you're doing, making it easier and/or the data. And so BTA has a lot of benefits, right? The most obvious benefit is Bob Goldberg himself. and of course, all of the other things that they do. You know, we're creating the whole VETEC program for hiring veterans.
Right.
BTA has been tremendous help. So do you constantly communicate with people like Bob Goldberg and the others about what it is that you're doing?
Yes. So part of actually the effort that I started last year was a tighter engagement with the Kanadas, with the industry analysts and publications and those kinds of things that would give me a platform to talk about those things. As part of that, part of being included in events and on panels is the relationships that I've started to build with those influencers. And so, yeah, I do. I get emails from Bob. Love to interact with Bob and others in the industry. All of I think, especially ECS, what a fantastic opportunity to connect with the leaders of the biggest dealers, in the world. And it's a fascinating business. That's a fascinating event because it is so warm and welcoming and friendly, and you've got a room full of staunch competitors. And so it's a really great event to not only connect and network, but also just to really see the pure, just the pureness and the goodness in this channel. I would say that it's one of the toughest channel positions that I have had because of the position that HP has historically been. But it is probably the kindest of all of the other channel jobs. I occasionally got yelled at during the first months of Amplify. Got called some names and maybe stupid here and there, but nothing like some of the treatment that I've seen in some of the other channels. So it's very kind,
Well,
genuine.
well, I appreciate you offering that, compliment about ECS. There are a few things that we pretty much put out there as our mission statement. Number one, it's all about floating all boats.
Yeah.
So if it's good for the industry, we're going to advocate it. Even if it's controversial, it still has to be talked about and studied.
Yeah.
So the second thing is it's about networking. It truly is an executive, network connection, right? I mean, it's all about talking with people you wouldn't normally talk about. And the third one is we avoid at all costs being a trade show. That's not what we want to do. That's good for BTA, and we support them in what they do. This is about learning. It's about how do we help an industry go and grow.
Yeah.
And so honestly, before I forget, I'm thrilled that you took the opportunity, my invitation to come. And we are going to do it again, so you'll be getting dates in January.
Excellent.
So final question, and again, thank you for mentioning that. The final question for strategy for HP for the rest of this year and really going into 24, if you were going to sum it up, what should the marketplace be prepared for?
Sure. So, I mean, our core businesses, print and PC, continue to be where, the focus and the investments are going. From a print perspective, we are getting ready to launch a super exciting A4 color product. We just launched last fall our A3, our second generation A3 product. And so this year really is about, and the rest of this year really is about building momentum with those new launches, building funnels after pandemic and after supply chain issues, re-engaging and winning over hearts and minds of dealers that we may have discouraged a little bit in doing business with us because of some of the challenges. But so those are, I mean, we are highly focused on that. We're doing some work in the software space as well to make the WorkPath apps, the workflow, to focus on workflow, because we do believe, and I've talked about this before, it's not about the product, but about the people and what they're doing. And so making sure that we have the right software applications available on the device to really take advantage of that workflow and make it more efficient. On the PC side, we have our Poly acquisition. We have new products there as well in terms of collaboration, conference room space, full setup, hybrid. I mean, both those businesses are, because of the breadth of product that we have in both the PC and print business, we have product and footprint that is appropriate for if you're home or you're working in a Starbucks or you're working in an office. And we do think that people are going to be moving around. So our core businesses continue to get those kinds of investments and attention. I would say we also have, a lot of other growth areas that, I want partners to ask me about. I want to be able to share with them because I think HP has the broadest breadth of product to offer partners to expand their own product offering. So our 3D printing, our focus on gaming, we're developing, services and software, professional services, attached services, all kinds of work going on in those spaces that I think are great adjacencies to what our partners do today, and would love to continue to help them expand their business.
Well, I really appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you. I could go on and on because you just are fascinating as a person. And what HP is doing, there are always 100 questions about it. So we may have to do another podcast if you're willing.
Totally.
We can have more fun about Tony Bennet and all. But I think what what you talked about at ECS and what you just spoke about here, it's awesome. Look, everyone has challenges, and especially the last few years, and now with even supply chain might even still be rearing its head. I don't know, but the industry is resourceful.
Yeah.
And it's resilient.
Very resilient. I mean, it's amazing. And that's, part of I not only have to educate the channel partners on what HP is doing, but I spend a lot of time educating internal HP organizations on what this channel is about. And, one of the first things I always raise is it's a resilient channel that has made a lot of money, a lot of people successful, and continues to get investment. I mean, the investors that are out there scooping up dealers is also a demonstration of there's still some good business out there to have. So it is, we can't take our eyes off the ball. We need to focus and dig deep and figure out what it is that we need to do to really, really accelerate our presence with this channel. And I'm super confident about where we are with them now, but also for me personally going forward the rest of this year, I'm super excited about the portfolio, about the relationship, about the partner engagement that I'm getting. And I think it's a great time to be an HP partner, and I think it's a great time for HP to be in this channel. So I'm really, really optimistic.
Well, to all the HP executives, at the risk of embarrassing Tami, you are a fantastic ambassador for your company. I think you're a terrific representative for the industry, and we sure need more and better diversity and sustainability and all the words we all say over and over again. You're all of that.
Thank you.
And if there's anything we can do to help get the message out there, just let us know. We're happy to do it. And on behalf of the entire industry, we thank you for spending time with us, and good luck at CDA.
Thank you. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing everyone there, and looking forward to seeing you guys again. And thanks so much for this opportunity. I can't wait to partner with you again, and let's do it again. Another podcast.
We'll do it again. We may even have a soundtrack from Tony Bennet.
Excellent.
So we'll talk to you soon, and thank you, Tami.
All right. Thank you.